Most people think helicopters are simple transport, but at the top they become something else. Some carry encrypted rooms, sleeping suites, and safety systems borrowed from war zones. These are not purchased, they are commissioned. Why do the most powerful people trust them with everything? And what failures are they preparing for when nobody is watching and everything is on the line? Bell 429. In 2009, the Bell 429 entered service with a clear goal: create a helicopter people could depend on every single week. It flies at roughly 273 kilometers per hour, uses twin Pratt & Whitney engines, and was engineered to minimize vibration inside the cabin. That matters more than it sounds. Less vibration keeps conversations sharp and fatigue low, especially during short but frequent flights. Many owners who choose this aircraft already have access to larger, flashier machines. They still come back to the 429. Why? Because schedules matter. Missed meetings cost money. Delays create stress. This helicopter earned a reputation for being ready when needed without drama. Operating limits exist. The range stays shorter than heavier models, but that creates flexibility. The Bell 429 lands on smaller rooftops, private compounds, and compact helipads. That freedom avoids regulatory headaches and saves time on every trip. Here is something rarely mentioned. Early operators reported exceptionally low cancellation rates during the first years of service. That kind of performance builds confidence quietly. Confidence shifts buying habits. Once trust becomes automatic, comfort starts becoming the next priority. And that opens the door to a very different type of machine. 9. Airbus H145. The Airbus H145 gained serious traction after major upgrades in 2015, especially a redesigned rotor system that reduced vibration while increasing lift. That balance attracted government users first. Leaders want aircraft that feel steady even during tense situations. The cabin offers around 6 cubic meters of space, and the layout adapts easily. Medical crews use it for emergencies, officials use it for transport, swap equipment for seating, and the aircraft transforms quickly without structural changes. One of the key owners of the H145 is the German government. High-profile executives and royalty have also opted for this model for personal use. Airbus executives describe the H145 as something people trust immediately, and delivery numbers back that up. More than 1,700 units worldwide shows how often buyers return to the platform. Some critics argue the design looks conservative. That criticism misses why it works. Conservative systems fail less often. When pressure rises, predictability matters more than style. A lesser-known capability sets it apart. The H145 performs reliably in hot and high environments, where thinner air reduces lift for many helicopters. That feature quietly drives elite demand. When altitude stops being a limitation, speed suddenly becomes the focus. 8. Sikorsky S-76D. The Sikorsky S-76D builds on a platform that first flew in 1977 and was refined through decades of feedback. By the time the D variant arrived, Sikorsky understood exactly what high-end users wanted: speed, stability, and discretion. This helicopter cruises close to 287 kilometers per hour, shortening trips without adding stress. Executives and public figures value quiet arrivals. Attention attracts delays, cameras, and risk. The S-76D avoids all three. Pilots often describe it as extremely balanced. That balance comes from a design rooted in offshore operations, where stability matters more than aesthetics. Luxury was added later, not baked in first. Costs remain high. Maintenance schedules stay strict. Owners accept that trade because utilization stays heavy. These aircraft fly often instead of sitting unused. Here is the overlooked detail. The S-76D was originally engineered around oil platform safety standards, which demand redundancy and durability. That foundation explains its long service life. It became a key tool for billionaires like Roman Abramovich. Eli Broad, an American billionaire, is also known to use it. Durability raises expectations. Expectations soon demand more space, comfort, and presence. 7. Leonardo AW139. In 2001, the Leonardo AW139 entered service, and within a few years it quietly changed how powerful people traveled. This helicopter moves close to 306 kilometers per hour, carries serious range, and offers a cabin tall enough for adults to stand comfortably. That single design choice altered behavior. When people stand, conversations shift. Discussions become active instead of passive. It's been a staple for high net worth individuals like Gulf royalty and wealthy tech founders, including Jeff Bezos, who's been spotted using it. Executives began treating flights as moving offices. Phones stayed connected. Documents stayed open. Decisions happened mid-air instead of waiting for arrival. Leonardo leaned into this reality and openly described the aircraft as multi-role by design. Governments, corporations, and offshore operators all agreed. The size brings trade-offs. Landing options become more limited. Operating expenses climb quickly. Yet buyers accept those costs because productivity rises. Time saved inside the cabin outweighs fuel bills. What many overlook is how reliability shaped trust. The AW139 built a reputation for strong dispatch performance across harsh environments. That reliability mattered to buyers who needed certainty more than comfort. Customization followed naturally. Interiors shifted from industrial layouts to conference-style seating, acoustic insulation, and encrypted communications. Once resale markets matured, owners felt safe spending heavily on upgrades. A former executive once joked that deals felt heavier in the air than on the ground. Height influences mindset more than people admit. When meetings start before landing, silence becomes valuable. And silence leads directly into a different kind of luxury. 6. Airbus ACH160. The Airbus ACH160 arrived around 2020, built on the H160 platform, and it immediately stood out for one reason: sound reduction. Airbus engineers redesigned blade geometry and tail systems to cut noise by nearly 50% compared to older helicopters. That change altered expectations overnight. Buyers noticed the difference during the first minutes on board. Conversations felt easier. Fatigue dropped. Things stayed sharp. For tech founders and investors, that calm aligned perfectly with modern design values. It's been snapped up by some of the wealthiest names in Middle Eastern royalty. Mohammed bin Salman is known to be one of the most prominent owners. The interior followed the same philosophy: modular layouts, natural materials, subtle lighting. Airbus avoided excess decoration and focused on clarity. One company briefly described the experience as intentional space rather than transport. Early critics questioned long-term reliability. Airbus answered with transparent testing data and phased deliveries. That openness reassured cautious buyers. Here is a detail many miss. The ACH160 introduced predictive maintenance technology, using sensors to anticipate component wear. That reduced downtime and improved scheduling accuracy. The owners cared deeply about that change. Lower downtime increases usage. Increased usage justifies higher upfront cost. Once efficiency becomes proven, ambition grows quickly. And ambition pushes buyers toward advanced control systems. 5. Bell 525 Relentless. The Bell 525 made history by becoming the first fly-by-wire helicopter, completing its first flight in 2015. Instead of mechanical linkages, pilot inputs travel through software. That single change reshaped how the aircraft behaves in the air. Fly-by-wire allows computers to smooth movements, limit dangerous angles, and reduce pilot workload. Bell compared the experience to modern airliners. That comparison attracted buyers focused on safety and comfort rather than tradition. Certification took years longer than expected. Delays frustrated customers and drew criticism. Bell responded by strengthening redundancy and safety testing. By the time approval arrived, trust had increased. This technology drew billionaire owners like Larry Ellison and Richard Branson. Ellison, a known tech mogul. Pilots admitted software prevented extreme maneuvers during testing. That honesty mattered. Luxury buyers prefer transparency over marketing. There were concerns about cybersecurity. Bell isolated flight controls from cabin networks to remove risk. That separation reassured regulators and owners alike. Here's the subtle benefit passengers feel immediately. Smoother motion profiles reduce fatigue and motion discomfort. Flights feel calmer, even during turbulence. When software starts managing flight behavior, scale feels safer. And that safety invites much larger aircraft into the conversation. 4. Sikorsky S-92 VIP. The Sikorsky S-92 first flew in 1998, and it came from a very specific world. Offshore oil operations, long flights over open water, zero room for mistakes. That background shaped everything about this helicopter. President Barack Obama famously used this helicopter during his presidency. It was never designed to feel exciting, it was designed to keep flying when things go wrong. That mindset is exactly why governments paid attention. Leaders do not look for thrills, they look for certainty. The S-92 was built with heavy redundancy across critical systems. If one component fails, another steps in quietly. Passengers are not supposed to notice anything happening at all. The VIP version takes that foundation and stretches it. The cabin extends beyond 8 meters, which changes how the space feels. This is not a tight executive layout. This is room to breathe. Separate seating zones, quiet areas, secure communication setups. People on board slow down instead of rushing through conversations. Critics always focus on cost. Fuel burn is high. Maintenance requirements are strict. Supporters answer with outcomes. When weather turns ugly or systems degrade, this helicopter stays controllable longer than most. That reliability influences planning at the highest level. Here's a detail most people outside aviation never hear. The S-92 was engineered to remain flyable after major system failures, including gearbox-related scenarios that would ground other aircraft immediately. That capability builds trust in ways marketing never could. Luxury came later. Once safety became unquestioned, interiors evolved carefully. Designers prioritized sound isolation, seating comfort, and clarity of communication. Decoration stayed secondary, function came first. At this level, confidence replaces excitement. Passengers feel calm instead of impressed. That calm changes how decisions are made. When an aircraft removes anxiety completely, size stops feeling excessive. It starts feeling necessary. And once necessity enters the conversation, power begins to move differently. 3. Leonardo AW101 VIP. The Leonardo AW101 comes from a military bloodline that dates back to the 1980s, and that history shapes everything about how it feels today. This helicopter was never designed to be light, fast, or flashy. It was designed to keep flying when conditions turn bad and decisions carry consequences. The most obvious signal is right there on the outside. 3 engines instead of 2. That choice alone changes how people think before the rotors even start turning. For governments and monarchies such as Queen Elizabeth II and European officials, redundancy equals confidence. One engine can fail and nothing dramatic happens. That matters more than speed or fuel efficiency when you are carrying leadership, sensitive conversations, or national responsibility. The AW101 was built with that assumption from the start, and it shows in its structure, systems, and weight. Inside, the cabin feels closer to a secure residence than a vehicle. The height allows people to move naturally. Seating layouts vary wildly because customization runs deep. Some configurations include lounges, private sleeping areas, and full communication suites. Conversations do not pause during flight. They continue calmly, without urgency. Critics focus on cost and size, and they are not wrong. Operating expenses stay high, landing options shrink, but supporters point to capability. The AW101 operates in weather that grounds lighter helicopters. When storms roll in, this aircraft still moves. That reliability reshapes planning entirely. A former European official once described flying in an AW101 as relocating government, not traveling. That line stuck because it feels accurate. Presence matters. Arrival sends a message before words do. Here's a lesser-known detail. The AW101 allows deeper interior customization than many private jets because of vertical clearance. Designers use that space to create layouts that feel permanent, not temporary. When transport begins to reflect authority instead of convenience, ownership becomes symbolic. And symbolism changes how power is perceived long before decisions are announced. That shift leads directly into helicopters designed to communicate identity, not just capability. 2. Airbus ACH175. The Airbus ACH175 entered VIP service in the late 2010s, and unlike many luxury helicopters, it was built with visibility in mind. This aircraft does not try to disappear. It was designed to be recognized, interpreted, and remembered. Built on the H175 platform, it supports extreme levels of customization that go far beyond comfort or efficiency. Interior layouts often include private suites, dedicated prayer spaces, and cultural design elements tailored to the owner's identity. Materials are chosen deliberately. Seating positions matter. Even entry angles are considered. Every choice communicates something before a single word is spoken. Middle Eastern fleets adopted the ACH-175 quickly, and aviation observers frequently associate certain configurations with circles connected to Mohammed bin Salman, though Airbus never confirms clients publicly. That silence preserves discretion. The aircraft itself already says enough. Criticism usually centers on extravagance. Why invest so heavily in a helicopter? Supporters answer with perception. In diplomacy and leadership, presence matters. Aircraft shape first impressions long before meetings begin. The ACH-175 was built for those moments. Aviation analysts often describe helicopters like this as visual language. Size, stance, and finish signal intent. The ACH-175 leans into that reality unapologetically. It feels ceremonial without sacrificing capability. Here is a technical detail rarely discussed. Heavy custom interiors require structural reinforcement, forcing engineers to redesign internal frames to support added weight safely. That work happens quietly behind the scenes and reflects how intentional these builds are. Nothing about this aircraft is accidental. Every element exists to reinforce identity, control, and authority. When travel becomes symbolic, privacy soon follows. And that transition leads towards aircraft built to disappear rather than be seen. 1. Sikorsky S-92 Custom Ultra. The Sikorsky's S-92 first flew in 1998, but the versions at the very top barely resemble anything on a spec sheet. Ultra-custom S-92 builds exist outside catalogs, price lists, or marketing videos. These aircraft are commissioned quietly, built slowly, and designed around one idea: remove friction from movement. Here's what makes them different. These helicopters often include private sleeping areas, isolated workspaces, and fully encrypted communications. Every system is redundant, not as a bonus, but as a requirement. If one system fails, another takes over without the passenger ever noticing. People often ask why someone would choose this instead of a private jet. The answer is control. Helicopters land closer. They skip airports. They avoid crowds. They compress hours into minutes. That matters when time carries more value than money. Industry insiders frequently associate this level of customization with owners like Jeff Bezos, though details stay intentionally unclear. That silence is part of the design. Visibility creates vulnerability. Critics call this excess. Owners describe it as infrastructure. One aerospace executive put it simply: This aircraft becomes personal logistics, not transport. It exists to eliminate exposure, delay, and unpredictability. Here is a detail rarely mentioned. Many of these helicopters outlive their original owner's needs. They quietly move between elite circles with minimal records because discretion holds value. When movement becomes silent and predictable, power rarely needs explanation. That mindset explains why the aircraft below it exists at all. This story ends here, but another one is already waiting. Click the next video on your screen right now before you miss it.